hear that, that is an actual V8. Nope, not any fake stuff here, an actual V8 sound under the hood. I never thought I'd see the day Mercedes have brought back a V8, or they kept it in their lineup, should I say, for the SL. Now, the one I have here is a little bit special, so I'll touch on more on that later, but it has changed over the years. So I've actually been living with this for the past week, and I wanted to share my experience of what it's like dailying a Mercedes-AMG SL 63. But I'm actually going to divide this review into two sections. So one, I'm going to review the SL as a whole car to kind of cover all engine variants, and then I'll more specifically touch on the one I have here, which is a Mercedes-AMG SL 63 SE Performance. Very long name with a whole lot of power. All I will say for now is that the total output of this starts with an 8. Yeah, we'll we'll touch on that later. Now, I remember back in 2022, yes, that was actually a few years ago now, I remember covering the SL, and I actually did a comparison at my local dealer of them side by side, of the previous one and the new one. And I have to say that the new SL looks absolutely amazing from almost every angle. And I remember making that comparison back then, that I thought this should be on like a movie set or something, or why does James Bond not drive on? Because it's that type of car that just gives it that kind of presence. I think the main thing that does it is, of course, all the power domes on the bonnet, and then of course you've got these angry lights here, and just all these angles on the front, and of course coupled with the AMG specific grille. It's just an all-round very nice package, and the paint as well. Now, this particular colour is Manufacture Alpine Grey Solid, and if I was building an SL, I'd have that colour, definitely. And I definitely would have the night package, although I probably wouldn't opt for the carbon ceramic brakes, just because, well, I don't really race cars and I wouldn't need carbon ceramic brakes personally. But I can imagine quite a few people are actually going to use this more as like a weekend car, or kind of like a sunny day car, much like today actually, although it is a little bit windy. Now, 3 major things that I wanted to point out on the SL. So if you had a previous SL, you will know that it is a hardtop, and the new one here, that obviously released a few years ago, this new shape, is only available in soft top. So obviously just something to factor in. Technically speaking, it is a 4-seater, technically. We'll come back to that. But then also, the other thing to factor in as well, if you were a previous, or are a previous SL owner, you'll know that there was, I think there was an SL 350, but I distinctly remember there being an SL 400 and a 500 as well. Very, very beautiful cars. But those weren't a Mercedes-AMG engine. They were just kind of your standard, very nice, luxurious engine. But the new SL only is available in AMG engines and AMG variants, which means the ride is going to be a little bit firmer. The performance is there, definitely, and the sound, which you've slightly heard, but we'll do a proper start-up in a minute. But yeah, it's only available as a AMG high performance car, so there's no 400 or 500 anymore. But we'll touch on more of the engines in a minute as well. Now, of course, this being a convertible, you can fold the roof. Now, Mercedes quote you can actually do this in 15 seconds. So yeah, we'll have a look, see here how long it actually takes, and you'll note that because the back doesn't go up and fold where the canvas goes away, it goes in there. So that's it, done. That is pretty quick, and apparently you can do it up to about 40 miles an hour as well, which just in case the heavens open, which does happen quite a lot in the UK. We do moan about the weather a lot, us Brits. Now, I can confirm that they have real exhaust, actual quad exhaust, surprisingly, because Mercedes are quite renowned for having the exhaust system like right up underneath, although they do typically keep the exhausts out for AMGs. But if you look really closely, you can see the exhausts, and boy, does it sound good. I said we'll turn it on in a minute. Now, one thing that's really cool with the rear is that there is actually a spoiler. Hold there, 1 second. Spoiler deployed, there we go. Now, actually, it does provide some downforce, so it actually does have some real properties, but it just changes the entire look of the car completely now, especially with the roof down. Okay, up next, let's look at the boot, and of course then those rear seats, front seats, and then we'll take it for a drive. Now, when it comes to the boot of the SL, the boot capacity is 213 litres. Although, what I will add with this one is that because this is the AMG 63 SE performance model, the boot capacity actually is even smaller. So it's actually just over 100 litres. So you know the CLA Frunk that I checked out recently, the new CLA that's coming, that's the size of it. So it is on the smaller side, as in I can't even fit all my camera bags in here. However, that brings me kind of neatly onto the rear seats, where I think that's actually where a lot of the storage is going to be used because, well, it doesn't fit adults. Now, as I mentioned, when the SL came out, it changed to a 4-seater, which is very, very welcome. However, here's what Mercedes said, which I found quite funny. Mercedes specifically stated, customers will benefit from the intelligent space layout as the SL is designed as a practical 2+2 seater. Honestly, that is an interesting choice of words because, yeah, no. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to fit in there. Yeah, that just... I told you it wasn't going to work. I did this for you guys. Oh dear. Okay, so yeah, this is not designed for adults in the back, despite my best attempt. So it's actually designed for people 5 foot and above 1.5 meters, so mainly kids. What is quite welcome though, I will add, is that the previous SL had like a kind of box in the back, only on one side for some reason. And there was no, obviously 2+2, there was no 4 seats. So the fact that this is here now is just an added area of storage, which I think is pretty good. So although not a 4-seater in my eyes, obviously for adults, it is good to have the storage here because you can put things here. Of course, just make sure it's all tied down with the seat belts and stuff so it doesn't go flying forward, just in case you brake really hard. Now in here is just such a nice place to sit. I remember even from the SL from a few years ago, that was nice, but in here, there are so many carbon fibre elements. And of course, AMG logos everywhere. It's visually stunning. I will touch on the multimedia system in a second because, well, just to show you, you can do this, which is quite cool. You can tilt the screen forwards and backwards. I'll explain why in a minute. But yeah, let's do a quick tour of the front and of course all the materials used and that sort of thing. Now there is leather virtually everywhere in here and carbon fibre all up here, carbon fibre on the doors, AMG dials here, AMG logos here. It's just such a nice place to sit. And of course we've got all these ambient lighting in the vents as well, which is very nice. And even these seats as well, these are AMG high performance seats. Now they are not my choice of colour, I would rather go black. So storage wise, we should say in here we have of course 2 USB-C ports, bit of storage in there for your phone if you're going to obviously charge it in there. And over here we have wireless charging, so you can obviously plug it in there. Another 2 USB-C ports in there, so plenty of power. Cup holders most importantly are in here. All soft close. For the doors, storage is quite small. It would have been nice to see it slightly bigger, but there again, it's not the end of the world. It does fit a cleaning cloth that I've got for here for cleaning the screen. And of course, most importantly, sunglasses. You do need them in this car. It's an absolute must. And then storage for the glove box. Yeah, that's pretty much standard size there, so that's all good. I think now we'll go through the multimedia system. Now, the multimedia system here is MBUX, and this looks to be MBUX Generation 2, so one of the later multimedia system generations that Mercedes-Benz have. But it has a trick a bit sleeve. You can tilt the screen using this button here, and you can adjust the display angle. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth do you need to do that? Well, the thing is, because modern tech, so many devices and cars these days have obviously big slabs of screens in. Can you imagine if you've got the roof back and the sun is like right behind you? That's going to act like a mirror. So you won't be able to see anything. So what Mercedes-Benz have done is you can adjust the screen to different angles just to avoid that sun. So yeah, they really do think of everything. So the multimedia system itself, I've covered many videos on MBUX, and I've got to say it is one of the best out there from reviewing some other brands. I personally haven't tried Porsche's at all, although I have read that it can be a bit clunky. whereas Mercedes one, of course, I know this very, very well. It is very, very good. Now, for a quick insight on this, of course, you have your climate control all the way down here, and you can adjust your temperature here, fan speed, all very easy to do. And the good thing is this bit down here is fixed, it doesn't move. So yes, it is touch. So if you're not a fan of touch controls, there is this touch screen here, and a lot of controls are done on this. So obviously just something to factor in, but you do get used to it. Then from the rest of it, from the top half is where all of your content is. So this will be where your sat nav is, or if you press the home button, you'll have radio and media and various other things in here with settings to control. So it is super easy to use. And of course, one of the main parts of this car being how dynamic it is for driving. You have your different drive modes over here, and you can press the AMG button down here and control it down here and do it all up here as well. And this has an abundance of modes on this one. So there's slippery, there's individual, there's battery hold, as this is the plug-in hybrid, electric, comfort, sport, sport plus, race. Yeah, there's a lot. Don't worry, we're getting ever closer to that sound off that we'll do in just a second. So yeah, all round, I really like the interior. Now, I will say, of course, it's not suitable for, you know, fully sized adults in the rear, should we say, but having said that, as a dedicated roadster and compared to the previous SL, it is nice to see that there's extra storage in the back. That's what I would classify this bit as. And I guess if you're going to carry any kids or anything, then yeah, they could jump in the back for that one-off trip maybe. But yeah, obviously you won't be able to pack your full suitcases for all 4 people away due to the size of the storage in the car. All right, well, let's fire this up and hear what it sounds like. Now, this being a plug-in hybrid, technically, I'll talk about that in a second, it can start an electric and drive around completely eco-friendly for a few miles. But let's be honest, that's not what we're here for. Now, of course, this being a V8, it sounds awesome, but normally because we're stationary, there is a rev limiter. So to experience what it actually sounds like, we're going to take this out for a drive. Now, this is what this car is all about. V8 fun. But I'm not going to say anything just for the moment. Just listen. No electric car can do that. It's what a V8's all about. It just sounds brutal. AMGs always deliver, and the performance is incredible. So we're doing 50. That's in 4th gear. Then we're doing 70. This is a quick car, and boy, is it a lot of fun. Now, this is the type of car that you're going to want to use those paddles. I mean, you don't have to, but you can really feel the gearbox kick in. And this is obviously in sport mode, or sorry, sport plus should I say. There's obviously a comfort mode as well, which will make the exhaust just a little bit quieter into comfort, and then it just simmers away. It's very, very quiet now, and this is your ultimate cruiser. If I was going to do a road trip across Europe, I think I'm taking one of these. Although I don't know where the luggage would go, but I'd find a way. Now, in this you will find a very, very nice 4-litre V8 engine, which on its own puts out 612 horsepower. Because you remember earlier, I mentioned the total output started with an 8. And that's why this car is a little bit special, because it's the SL63 SE Performance. Now, the SE Performance basically and technically is a plug-in hybrid, and what this plug-in hybrid does is just make the AMG engine even quicker. It's quite funny because normally plug-in hybrids are for reducing your emissions, or I don't know, doing your bit, or kind of doing all your local journeys on electric. Now, you can do a couple of journeys on, well, one journey on electric. I'll get to that in a second. But the primary goal of this car with that electric stuff is to make the car go quicker. And it does do that. You get an extra 204 horsepower on the electric motor on its own. All of that combined means the 0 to 62 is 2.9 seconds. It's just so much tech crammed into, I say a small car, the bonnet's massive. It's huge. Maybe what you're wondering, does this exhaust crackle and popple? Yes, yes it does. Oh yes it does. But the cool thing is it also can drive on electric as well. Now the range on electric is 9 miles. I know what you're thinking. And before any of you get into that comment section, hear me out. Remember its primary goal, its main focus is to deliver that power immediately. In fact, Mercedes actually, they took me out in a C63 SE performance on a track. I'll link that below. I wasn't actually going there for that. I was actually there for the Mercedes-AMG GTR Pro that was being launched. But they said, hey Nick, do you just want to go out in this? And just threw me out in this car. But the guys showed me what it can do. And yeah, it's very, very fast. Far more capable than I can show here on a public road. But obviously its main goal is not to drive on electric. I guess you could do that like I did this morning because I left very early to basically not wake the neighbours up, should we say, with a V8 engine. So you can just drive away silently as soon as you get down the road, then turn the engine on. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, that's 60 already. This car is so fast. It is quite firm, but it kind of gives you that confidence that if you give the car a really hard corner, you'll come out the other side in one piece. Although annoyingly, the week that I have this car, weirdly, it's not raining. So I can't actually test how grippy it is in the wet. So I don't know what it'll be like with that. By the way, I'm not complaining. It's very nice to have the sun out for a change. This reminds me, you should probably get the roof back. I'm just going to pull over here very quickly because this is a 60-mile-an-hour road and I don't want to don't want to be a hindrance to people behind me. Let's get this roof back. This is what a roadster's meant to be like. Although personally, when I was configuring one, I don't think I would need the SE performance, so I would personally just go for an SL55, and this is what that would look like. Same paint, black interior, but an SL55. I think that would suit me. Because it will sound the same, it's a V8 engine, it just doesn't have the hybrid tech, which is cool, but it really adds to the price. Well, I could do this all day. However, we've got to talk about those pros and cons. So let's find a safe spot to pull over and talk about it. All right, so let's talk about these pros and cons of the SL. Now, for pros, let's start there. I'm going to say that the design of this is, well, it's brilliant. I absolutely love it. I'm going to call it like timeless design because I can't see the design of this aging at all. I can imagine that even 10 years time, this car is going to look brilliant. And you just feel so good getting out of it. Obviously, I don't own this car myself. I kind of wish I did, but it wouldn't be very practical since we have a dog at home. But yeah, jealous of anyone who has one because it's beautiful. Another pro is the brutal performance of this. I mean, Mercedes-AMGs always deliver, so there's what is not to like on a Mercedes-AMG, especially this, because the SE performance side of it is even more so. Probably a bit too much me for a daily kind of thing, so if I ever had an SL in the future, I'd be looking more on the 55 route. There is also the SL43, but that's not a V8. Believe it or not, it's actually a 2-litre. I know, 2-litre in an SL. Yeah, that doesn't, it's powerful, it just doesn't sound as like an SL, if you get what I mean. it should be like V6 and above, or straight 6 and above. The other pro is of course the Mercedes user interface. It is as good as all the other Mercedes, and I've reviewed a few cars. I haven't driven any Porsches to date, so from that sort of standpoint, I can't really compare to what it would be like. So I know there are Porsches out there, such as the Porsche 911 Carrera GTS Cabriolet. That would be kind of the sort of thing this would be pitted against. I've not driven that, I've not sat in that, so I can't really make that comparison. But from what I've read online, software and that sort of thing isn't as good as Mercedes. I can and will give a little tick for Mercedes on the multimedia system just because it is very good. Now onto the cons. Now there's always pros and cons to every car, and as much as I love this car, I had to pick some cons. So here are the 3 I found. The first con is that it's only available as AMGs. It would have been nice to see that Mercedes brought out, for example, like the 43, the 55, the 63, but then also brought out some more affordable models, should I use that word? Just non-AMG versions. So like a 350 or a 400 or a 500, maybe even just one. Maybe even just like a very smooth V8 that doesn't have the performance exhausts or anything like that. It's just a very nice, comforting one, much like the previous SLs. Then the other con is the price. The one that I'm sat in right now is just under £200,000. £196,000. Yeah, that's why, one of the reasons why I thought to look at the SL55, because it's, well, my daily car less price than this one. And I know this one has loads of hybrid tech and stuff like that, and the performance is incredible. It's just not something that I would personally pick. I'd be more looking at like the SL55, as I mentioned, which actually, funny enough, is around that sort of price of the Porsches that it would be pitted against. And then, of course, the only thing, the boot, just from a practicality point of view, I'm gonna say boot just because the actual boot capacity is very small, especially in this one because you've got the hybrid tech. But you do have this space here which is pretty good. For example, I've got my bag here just because it literally doesn't fit in the back. So there is this space here. I wouldn't really classify it as a 4-seater though, as I mentioned, but yeah, it is a small boot. But there again, you kind of know what you're getting into when you look at this sort of car. The boot space is always a little bit smaller in these. Now, when I review a car and test a car, I do test it in a whole variety of different situations, from usually all weathers where I can, and then also, you know, I go to the shops, I try and put the dog in the car sometimes. Obviously that's not going to happen in this one, not safely anyway. But I also get my partner Erin to have a look as well, and here's what she said after a quick spurt up the road. Would you have one of these? Yeah. You don't even know how much it is. From a design point of view, it also gets her approval as well. There we go. I know what car she wants if we win the lottery. Well, there we go, guys. That is the SL63 SE Performance. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe as always. And until next time, see you then. Oh, and before I go, if you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know in the comment section down below. Take care, guys.